We're now on Daf Ayin Hey Amid Beis, and we're trying to understand why is it that, according to Rabbi Lazar, Kusim are not allowed to marry one to the other, and the Gemara is quoting Rav Dimi, who suggests that maybe we should understand that Rabbi Lazar holds like Rabbi Shmuel, and Rabbi Shmuel holds like Savilak Rabbi Akiva. So there are two different issues. And in these issues, Rabbi Lazar holds like Rabbi Shmuel, and he holds in one issue and like Rabbi Akiva in the other. Rabbi Lazar Savaki Rabbi Shmuel. In what issue did he accept the sheet of Rabbi Shmuel? The Kusim Geri Arayasin, that the gerus of the Kusim is a false, invalid gerus. They only did it out of fear, and it was a gerus without das. It was Bal Korcha, and therefore, if their gerus is not recognized, then they're basically akum. And akum shenosu b'nos Yisrael, obviously that's a severe prohibition of Allah. But even though it's a severe prohibition, it's not a chiv kares, and therefore we have to add another point here. Rabbi Shmuel accepts Savala ki Rabbi Akiva. The Omar akum b'yevet abal basol avlad mamzer, because Rabbi Akiva holds that this mamzer from chayvei lavan elot ischatein bam, therefore that generates a mamzeris in the vlad. So now we have a suffix in every kusi. It could be the kusi has is a descendant, shall we say, of a Yisraelis that married a kusi, and that makes him into a mamzer because we're holding like Rabbi Akiva, and the kusi is a goy because Geri Arai is saying it's not a valid gerus, and therefore the child is a mamzer. Or should we say that the kusi and the kusis are both goyim because Geri Arai is saying, and therefore they can't marry one or the other because the Israel, even a mamzer, is not allowed to marry a goy. You're assuming that Rabbi Shmuel accepted Rabbi Akiva. In other words, that Rabbi Shmuel, who holds that Kusma Geri Arai, accepted that Akum Shabal Basel of Ladmam. So Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shmuel. Minayin lo v'kochav v'yavet shabo al kohenes v'alaviv al bas Yisrael shepsulua. So again, he's only talking about creating a psul in a case of an akum and a relationship with a bas Yisrael, whether she's kohenes or levi, etc. But he never raised the possibility that akum v'yavet abba bas Yisrael asa of Vlad Mamzer. He's only talking about psul kahuna. So a bas kohenes would be psula from achilas truma, and she can't go back to Beis Avia because she had a relationship with an akum. Shenemer bas kohet yisi almano grusha v'zera einla. That's only because she had a relationship with someone who could make her into an almana and a grusha. Means that this tfisas kiddushin misheyesh almanas grusha, where there's Torah's kiddushin, then we're going to say that his bia does not passel her. And that's why the Torah says, V'shavel beis avia. Yotza ovi kochav v'eved she'ein lo almanas u'grusha, and therefore, since ein Kiddushin tovsin ba, the bia passels her. So again, we're only saying passels her as a potential marriage partner for a Kohen in Psuli Kuna, or alternatively, that she can no longer go back to her father's rishus to eat truma after her husband dies or divorces her. But Isa Kadak, the Sobolak Rabbi Akiva, the Chayve Lavim generates mamzerus, is Hashtam Afser, Havi Mifsal B'Yosim Boy. You want to know whether or not the Vlad that comes from this beer is Posel Akuna, etc. He's a guy. Right? I mean, he's a mamzer because B.S. Goy, according to Rabbi Akiva, generates mamzeres. So why do we need this pasuk to teach us that he pasels bibiyaso and she can no longer eat truma? If you're talking about Rabbi Akiva, who holds it from Chayvei Lav, there's mamzeres. So from the fact that Rabbi Shmuel needed the limud, a yalfusa, that B.S. Goy pasels a bas kohen from truma, is we see clearly that he doesn't accept Rabbi Akiva that the vlad of such a relationship between a goy and a bas Yisrael is a mamzer. So again, we go back now to our original question: why does Rabbi Elazar hold that a kusi cannot marry a kusis? Ella says, "I give you an alternative way of understanding Rabbi Elazar." Rabbi Elazar, why is it that a kusi cannot marry kusis? Savala kirabi Shmuel the Amar kusim gebi arayisem. Savala kirabi Akiva the Amar obi kochov ma'eved abol bas Yisrael avlad mamzer. So therefore, we have a suffix in every kusi. Perhaps his mother was the Israelis who got married to a kusi, and that makes him into Yisrael mamzer because we're holding like Rabbi Akiva. Or perhaps the kusi and the kusis are goyim because they're both the father and the mother are kusim, and kusim are geri arayis, and they're not Jewish. And therefore, the child is not allowed to marry a Yisrael, or for that matter, even a mamzer, because a guy is not allowed to marry a mamzer. Or shall we say it the other way around? A mamzer is not allowed to marry a guy. And once again, the Gemara raises the following objection. You're trying to explain Rabbi Elazar that the kusim can't marry each other based on Rabbi Akiva, who holds that goy eved above basol vlad mamzer. Wait a second. We have a statement of Elazar, Af bishenechlu beit sham beisil b'tsaros modim she'ed mamzer el mishi yisur erva nishkaris. So we have machlokas she beisil beit sham in Masechet Yevamos about the din of Itzaras Erva. According to Beit Shammai, Itzaras Erva falls for Yibum. Only the Erva itself is outside the parish of Yibum. So that's called Misya Beves. Beis Hillel says no. Itzaras Erva has the same status as an Erva. She doesn't even need Chalitza. And yet, what is the status of the child in a case where, like Beis Shammai, they implemented Beit Shammai's ruling, and the Tzaras Erva got married to the Yoma, and the answer would be the following: Ein mamzel misha yisur yisur erva manishkar. So it goes like this: the child of a Tzaras Erva, in the case of Yibum, right, if we implemented Beit Shammai, it would be a mamzer. Why? Because it's what we call Eishes Achshel B'Makom Mitzvah, and that's an erev of a Chiv Kares. Why? Because according to Beis Hillel, there's no nefila for Yibum. If there's no mitzvah Yibum in the case of Tzaras Erva, then clearly the child is going to be a mamzer. But on the other hand, if let's say from Beit Shammai's perspective, if they implemented Beis Hillel, which means that a Tzaras Erva did not require Chalitza, so she got married to someone in a shuk, that's in the maximum case of violation of a law, and that doesn't generate mamzeres. In any event, we see clearly here that Rabbi Elazar rejected Rabbi Akiva, and therefore he held that there's no mamzeres from Chayvei Lavan. Eloki also Ravin, when Ravin came from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, right? And he brings the Shmuel of Rabbi Yochanan from Eretz Yisrael. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Amar Rabbi Yochanan v'Amar Li, Amar Rabbi Abba bar Zabna, Amar Rabbi China, Amar Rabbi Amilo, Amar Rabbi Yaakov bar Ili, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Shalosh machlokos b'davar. There are three shitos with regard to Kusim and a mixture of Kohanim in the families of Kusim as to why the Kusim are Asurim Lav L'Kol. Rabbi Yishmael saw a Kusim Geri Arayasem. There was never a Gerus. And if the gerus wasn't valid, they have obviously the din of goyim. If Kohanim married into these kusim, is Kohanim psulim hayu. He's going to quote a pasuk in Malachim Beis to prove that those Kohanim were actual psulim. What does it say in the pasuk? It says vayasu lehem miktzosam. Emphasize that word miktzosam. Kohanei bamos, Kohanim who served on bamos. The Amar Rabba bar Bachana Rabbi Yochanan. What do we mean by miktzosam? Is minakotzim shema'am, which literally means like the thorns and thistles of the nation, which means the psulim of the nation. And mehem osalem kode bamos. Since their gerus was not a valid gerus, we passed them, and we said they cannot come into the kal. However, Rabbi Kiva Sova Kusim Geri Arayasin. I'm sorry, Geri Emerson. So Rabbi Kiva recognizes and validates the gerus of Kusim. They have the din of Yisrael. The konim shenitmu b'hem, konim ksherim hayu. He reinterprets the word miktsosam. Shenemar v'yasu lahem miktsosam koine bamos. According to this transmission of Rabbi in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, what does the word mitzosam mean? The best of the best. V'ela, you'll ask me, why did the Chacham say that a kusi can't come into Kal Yisrael if their gerus was a valid gerus? Okay, so now we have a ganze shtickle Torah of the kusim. This reminds me of the sugya of of the stukim. How did they come to the conclusion regarding Chadash that Mimachas HaShabbos, etc., etc.? So here too, the kusim came up with a very weird shita that the whole mitzvah of Yibum only applies to Narusa. And here we turn to Ayin Vav. Upochim is a nesuos, that a nesua is out of the box as far as zikas yibum, they don't even require chalitza, and that's going to generate a psul of mamzeres. My Darshi, what led the kusim to this very strange position, this conclusion? Because the pasuk says, "Lo sia eish samesa chutza lishzar." So, what is the word chutza teaching me? Hach de yasva chutza. An arusa who sits chutza. Chutza means that she's already left the rishus of her father, so to speak, but she hasn't yet entered the rishus of her husband. He lo sia lishzar. She has a zikas yibum. Aval hach, but in a suah de lo yasva chutza, because she's already in the rishus of her baal, she doesn't require yibum. There's no zikas yibum. Teisha lizar. And Rabbi Kiva Tamedo Yesh Mamzeh Mechayve Lavan. So if the kusim allowed a nesua whose husband died to marry someone in Ashuk, violating the Isser of Yevamal Ashuk, which is an Isser Lav, and we accept Rabbi Kiva, the Vlad is going to be a Mamzer. Okay, then, so this is where we'll stop. And I'll take this opportunity to thank you for learning at this early hour and wishing you a great Shabbos. Okay, then?